And if we're doing what is right as Christians in our culture, in our country, we have nothing to fear. Even if we have a bad authority, we have nothing to fear. We see that there's really two reasons that God has government. One is to promote good, and two is to restrain evil.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Patros podcast, where we are embracing healthy masculinity. We are, well, if you're listening to this, you are joining us as we grow spiritually. We are anchored in brotherhood, and you're wanting to put your faith into action. And this is a perfect episode for that, because we are going to be talking about one of the hardest ways to put your faith into action sometimes, which is how we as men can be a Patros in our country, and specifically sometimes within politics. That's something that we're a little scared of. Jeff?
Most guys really are not scared of it. They love it.
Right. Yeah, we love it. But I'm your host, Alan Pereira. This is Jeff Ford. He is the author of The Way of the Patros. And it's really about becoming a spiritual father in a fatherless age. And so just how do we model that within politics? And so this is a really cool section, because it's a one that I think people are scared of doing it, like, rightfully. Which is, I think, why it's really good that you started off with talking about orthodoxy and orthopraxy, and just how, like, putting our faith into action. Like, what does it look like to actually live by the word of God first?
So going through the Way of the Patros, which is available for purchase on Amazon. And this is section 10. So the way we wrote the book is it's 74 short chapters in 12 different sections. So it's a super quick read. Honestly, it's a really quick read. And you can treat each chapter as like a little, like, 5-minute devotion. You can read every chapter.
And you can jump to a place where you're like, hey, I resonate with that right now. Let me go there first.
Yeah. You can kind of jump around in the book. Each chapter is kind of contained, and then each section is about the topic. So the topic is, how do we live as a Patros in our country? And so, we kind of set the foundation about orthodoxy and orthopraxy. Like, we've got,
which for our guys that are like, man, I just got into this.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
What does that mean? So orthodoxy would be what you believe, and we would say right believing. And then orthopraxy would be what you do with that. So we would say right practice. So orthodoxy, right belief; orthopraxy, right practice. So it's putting your faith into action, which in our GAP language that Alan mentioned in the beginning, that is one of the three components of a healthy Patros. He is putting his faith into action. It's not good enough for us to say that we are believers, say that we love God, and then not do anything that exemplifies what God did. And if you look at Jesus, like, he's always helping the poor. He's always meeting with sinners. He's always confronting injustice. And so you have all these things that Jesus does, and then you look at your life. Are you doing those things?
What's everybody's biggest complaint about us as Christians, or even as men, is that we don't do what we say we're supposed to do. Or we don't. We're hypocrites. Everybody says that the church is full of hypocrites, and then we also say, like, which is why we need Jesus.
So it's one thing, and it is, right? It's kind of it's both and, because we would say, yes, we are hypocrites. That's why we're in a church,
but
and that's why we need Jesus. But we're moving towards
Christ and away from hypocrisy.
Like, we don't want to just stay there. So we recognize the failure, and then we want to get a little better every day through the sanctification, the sanctifying work of the Spirit within us. And Romans talks about that. Like, you should be increasing. I'm going to talk to the man real quick out there listening to this. If you love Jesus, you should be increasingly, day by day, looking like him. And if you are not looking more like Jesus now than you were 12 months ago, there is something amiss. Something is wrong. Right? And the way that you do that is the things that we're talking about with GAP. Like, you're growing spiritually, you have brothers around, you're anchored in brotherhood, you have brothers around you, and then you are putting your faith into practice. And the brothers around you are going to tell you if you're putting your faith into practice or not, right? Like, that's going to naturally happen.
Call that out if they don't see it,
like, even
or
you
encourage you.
And you even had that the other day. You shared in the team meeting about a guy who you kind of told him, like, hey, listen, bro, you want my honest feedback? Because he asked.
Here's your this is the feedback that you're going to get from me. Or even someone did that to me recently, like with a pain point for me, and called me out. It was like a dinner table, 5 different dudes, and called me out on some stuff, and I was like, all right, let's explore that. Like, let's talk through it. And like, if I'm telling people my feedback to them, I need to be willing to take feedback from people.
For sure. And I think some guys don't give the feedback because they don't want the feedback themselves.
Yeah.
So if we are giving feedback, which we should be doing, then when someone confronts us with something, the posture should always be like, let me receive this.
Yeah.
And then you examine it and go, you know what, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Or you say, you know what, that guy does know what he's talking about. I need to switch up what I'm doing a little bit.
So you set the foundation of orthodoxy, orthopraxy. So, right belief and right doing. But really that's to lead people to, like, I think a chapter that honestly goes unheralded often, which is Romans 13. So God is just, Paul's talking about just how God has established politics for our good, which I think a lot of people would disagree with how they talk about politics. Could you dive into just like, honestly, like, why did you think to bring that up first?
So when you talk about your country, I think as Americans, if you're listening to this and you're an American, or if you're Ugandan, or if you're a Dominican or whatever, you think about your country, right? Like you think about your homeland. And so, what is my position in relationship to the country where I live?
Yeah, to my nation, yeah.
Knowing that as a Christian, this is not my home.
Yeah.
The Bible says that we are pilgrims. Well, another word it uses is sojourner, which is kind of cool word. But it means you're passing through, and everybody kind of understands a pilgrim. You're searching for a new home.
Yes.
So like, that's what we are. We are pilgrims in this land, wherever God has us, nationally, and our home is heaven. So our ultimate allegiance and loyalty is not to our country. Yeah. And I don't know if you talk to most Christians if they would say that, especially like kind of your conservative, I think military law enforcement, like that mindset.
Yeah, you kind of got two ends of the spectrum. One is just like, I have zero allegiance to my nation. I don't care about my nation. And then you have the other side that's like,
I'm all in.
I'm kind of like, I'm conservative plus, or I'm American plus Jesus.
Correct. And I would say like being proud of your country, being where you're from, like 1,000% yes.
Yeah.
So, and we can get to that. But before that, like God gives us the reason for government. And so like when we talk about, the laws of the nation and, what the purpose of government is, Romans 13 gives us the purpose of government. Yeah. And so I'm just going to read it because, it's just easier, let's just read from the word. So it says this, I'm reading from Romans 13:1, let everyone be subject to the governing authorities, for there's no authority except that which God has established. The authorities that exist have been established by God. So first of all, whatever situation you are in, God has established that authority. Yeah. So for you to say, I'm going to rebel against the authority, I'm just going to tell you, you're wrong. Yeah. You might want to, and it might be an unjust authority, but to rebel against it, just know that like God he has that authority there for you. And then so he's going to explain that. Consequently, whoever rebels against the authority is rebelling against what God has instituted and brings judgment on themselves. It's like, it's funny, because a lot of times I'll talk about like our nation was founded in rebellion to the king. And I would say that was unbiblical. Like for the pilgrims who are just like, man, we just want a new homeland. We're not saying we're rebelling against you. We just like to go explore a new home. I think that's different than going middle finger, King George. We're not having anything to do with you. We're starting our own thing. Power to the people. Oh, that's a little bit different sentiment. And I'm not saying I'm not here for it. I'm reaping the benefits of that. It's just funny how we talk about how great America is, and it was really born out of rebellion, which is against what Romans says to do.
Which is interesting because you have even like with Moses and, like let my people go, with Pharaoh, like God is not overthrowing Pharaoh first. That's not his first plan of action. It's really giving Pharaoh the opportunities to be a good ruler.
Yeah. Hey, listen, what you're doing is wrong. You're enslaving people against their will to do, indentured servitude. That's wrong. These guys are made in the image of God. We treat everybody equally. You detest the Israelites. That's wrong. So like, let them go. Let them go. Like, let's make this right. It's kind of like if you think about slavery, more modern day slavery, it's like, hey, the right thing, let's let them go. That's the right thing to do. That's what God would want to do. And so Pharaoh's like, nope.
Yeah.
So he's rebelling against the authorities.
But still, God is like allowing time after time after time. And then finally God goes, all right, now it's time.
Now it's time. Yeah. So then verse 3 says, for rulers hold no terror for those who do right, but for those who do wrong. Do you want to be free from the fear of the one in authority? Then do what's right, and you'll be commended. So like you see that the authority is there to promote what is right. And if we're doing what is right as Christians in our culture, in our country, we have nothing to fear. Even if we have a bad authority, we have nothing to fear because we're doing what God wants us to do.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, hold on, let me come back to that.
Yeah.
Because then he keeps going and he says, verse 4, for the one in authority is God's servant for your good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for rulers do not bear the sword for no reason. They are God's servants, agents of wrath for punishment of the wrongdoer. Therefore, it's necessary to submit not only to the possible punishment, but also a matter of conscience. This is why you pay taxes. For the authorities are God's servants who give their time, full time to governing. So give to everyone what you owe them. If taxes, taxes, revenue, revenue, respect, respect, and honor, honor. So it's really kind of specific about what we should be doing. Now, as a guy who doesn't like to pay more tax than I want, I don't think there's anything wrong with utilizing the law that's in place and whatever quote unquote loopholes there are. So people will bang on Trump because
the government provides you like, hey, these are the rules.
Yeah.
And then play
abide
by the
by
rules.
them.
Yeah.
And then so people get on like corporations and stuff for avoiding taxes with loopholes and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that is the law, so they're following the law. But then there's also a matter of conscience, and what's right about conscience. So that is an interesting discussion to have. Is it right that people, go with those loopholes to not pay their taxes? That's something that we could discuss.
Yeah, like if your societal like infrastructure and even your tax code provides all these opportunities and you take advantage of them because they're there for you to be taking advantage of them, then is it wrong?
Yeah.
Or is it that, yes, take advantage of them, but then use the income that you are keeping to still be for the betterment of your neighbor? Yeah.
So there's definitely like this whole argument around that. But at the end of the day, we see that there's really two reasons that God has government. One is to promote good, and two is to restrain evil. And so the first thing we got to do is recognize as Patros that evil and good exist categorically.
Yeah.
There is evil in the world. There is good in the world. God represents the good. The devil represents evil. They are competing forces. And as long as we live this side of heaven, they're always going to be competing.
When you mention like the context of who he's writing to and what time period.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I'm sure the average listener as well as myself is like, what about when they're evil rulers?
Right. And that's the thing is Paul has one of the most evil.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm thinking of Austin Powers. Do you know Austin Powers?
Dr. Evil.
Dr. Evil. Evil. They're even more evil than Dr. Evil, right?
Yeah.
Like Nero was. He was notoriously evil against Christians in particular, right? Like hanging them up, and soaking them in tar, lighting them on fire for like his parties. So this guy was incredibly wicked and against the very people that Paul is writing to. So for Paul to then say, submit to this guy, you would think if there was a time where justification of rebellion, it would have been now. Hey God, they're lighting us on fire. They're dipping us in tar.
We got to go to war or something.
We need to overthrow this. Now, I think when it comes to your family, I'm gonna do everything I can to protect my family, and so people will say for instance, following the law. Well, following the law goes against the dictates of conscience. You follow conscience first.
Yeah,
we see that example in Acts 2, where they're like, listen, if we're breaking the law, okay, because we have to follow God versus man.
Yeah, or you look at Daniel, you look at Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego.
Right.
Yeah.
So what we're not saying is in your country, you do whatever your leader tells you to do.
Yeah, your allegiance isn't to your country first.
Yeah. You are going to submit to God's authority. And if God, so for you to essentially denounce Christ, that would be the one thing. If there's anything that your country is making you do to denounce your Savior, then it's wrong. You don't denounce your Savior.
Yeah.
And live your country.
Yeah.
But if your country is asking you to pay taxes, then pay taxes, right? If it's revenue. If it's honor. Like,
Yeah.
And so we respect the government. Now, what's cool about America is that we can change stuff.
Yeah, we are given power to to make things different. Yeah.
And I think one of the chapters in the book is that participate in the process while you still can.
Yeah.
There are very, very, very few people who get to do this. They get to literally make an impact.
Yeah.
And people will often say, politics is junk. I can't do anything. They're all corrupt. And we make these categorical statements.
Yeah.
And I have been guilty of that as well.
For sure.
They are not true. Not everybody is corrupt. I mean, a lot of them are.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. But not everybody is.
Yeah.
And not everybody in Washington's corrupt. Not everybody at your local level is corrupt. And then there's some that are at your local level. There are some at your state level. There are some at your federal level. You always have corruption because you have humans who are sinful. But don't for a second think that just because someone is in politics, that means they're evil.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of, now in the last 5 years, 6 years, you know this.
Yeah.
I've been able to be in contact with a lot of people just on a state level.
You've seen that, just love Jesus.
And they love Jesus.
Yeah.
And they're fighting, they are participating in the process. And so a story I give in here is there's a guy by the name of Kelly Stargell. She ended up being a representative, the House of Representatives, state of Florida. And she was really concerned about the pro-life issues.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yep. And so she was like, her friends would be like, you should run for office and do something about this. Just run for office. And I believe she had a high school education. I might be wrong about that, but I think that's part of the story. And she was a stay-at-home mom doing her thing. And next thing you know, she is responsible for getting us to a 15-week ban and then ultimately a 6-week, she participated. It wasn't her bill, but I think the 15-week was her bill. And then the 6 weeks she participated in.
Wow.
And so she didn't like that babies were being killed, unborn babies were being killed.
About it.
And so she went to Tallahassee and changed the law.
That's crazy.
And I'm like, savage, right?
Yeah.
Like, what a savage response.
And it didn't have to be that you had a PhD in poli-sci or something. Yeah.
She just ran for office. She was like, this is important to me. I care about it. I'm passionate about it. And the people around her recognize that. So I'm not saying everybody should do that, but I am saying that the purpose of government is to restrain evil and promote good. That's you can't take me off of that.
Yeah.
That's the two purposes we see in Romans 13. And in that we glorify God. And so she's like, well, what's good here and what's evil? I think it's evil that people are killing babies.
Yeah.
So I'm going to restrain that through the law.
Yeah.
And I'm going to promote.
Yeah, there's a process I could take part in.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you think about because I think that I had this thought the other day where it was often we're just like pushing kids to become doctors, we're pushing kids to become lawyers or athletes. It's all these, but then when it comes to maybe people just say he'll become president one day, but that's the only one. But whenever just hey, I think that your giftings could make you an amazing congressman, or you could make a huge impact. And even in the discipleship within the church, just knowing hey, for the flourishment of your neighbors and your community, promoting political access or training, why is the church not more involved in that? Why are we so scared to tell people hey, get involved, because we can change literally almost everything.
This is a great topic, and I think let me take you to a story about the board. This story, but I'll tell it for everybody listening. Is that there was a time when we were all we took was private money, and an opportunity was presented to us to take some state dollars. And I remember the board at the time, and myself included, I was like, man, I don't know if I want to do this, because then the state will dictate to us,
I remember that. Yeah.
What we can do and blah, blah, blah.
That was kind of like are we going to be allowed to talk about Jesus? Are we? Yeah.
So it's kind of a watershed moment for us. And the more we broke it down, I was just kind of like, well, listen, they're going to give this money to somebody.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wouldn't we rather them give it to us as believers? And we can be salt and light. So I don't know what that means, but if they're going to give it to somebody, shouldn't we at least take it?
Try to use
and let's
it
say
for
we
God's
couldn't
good.
talk about the gospel. They would know us by our actions at least.
By our fruit,
and then, we could tell them, like, if someone asks a question, well, why are you so joyful? The free speech allows me to say what I want to say. But what I found was there's this big misnomer. Now, you will have people out there who are going to be upset, and they may, like the ACLU, for instance, they're going to make a big deal out of this. That's so funny to me that they don't typically respect the rights of Christians to speak, but they respect the rights of everyone else to speak. It's just hypocritical, ACLU, if you're listening. But the state generally understands that the welfare of its citizens cannot be totally controlled by those governing, right? So in other words, they're going, listen, we can make laws, but I can make a law about something, but if other people don't do it, it doesn't matter. Or I can promote something, but if other people don't do it, so you got 100 lawmakers, and then you got 19 million people in the state, or whatever it is. People are going to be people, and most people still like fundamentally understand this as a quote unquote like Christian nation. Now they might not believe Christianity,
but they see us as like a Christian,
right? But the values that are there, they kind of like understand. So I think that when you get into this like relationship, what I saw was I can't create materials that promote Christianity with the state's dollars. Yeah, but that doesn't mean I can't talk about Jesus. I can create materials from other sources that I then present to somebody that I was able to be introduced to through my contract with the state. Yeah. And in addition to providing mentoring, coaching, case management services, say, hey, listen, here is a voluntary thing that you could go through. We're going to go through it if you wanted to. Yeah. So then it's voluntary.
Yeah, it's that whole concept.
They don't care.
Of like, I can go, like I just had a conversation with somebody the other day that was going to do a speaking engagement potentially. And they couldn't talk about Jesus, but I was like, but you talk about Jesus all the time on your other platforms. Yeah. So that's your like wide net. Yeah. They want to follow you, and then they go hear about Jesus later. Yeah. So like it's still a way to evangelize. It's just now you're strategically talking to a bunch of people that aren't Christians. Yeah. So it's the same thing like the state. But it was really cool. I don't know if you could talk about it a little bit. Like Eric Dellenbeck kind of helped with that too, right? A little bit of just like understanding the framework of, hey, it's not that the church can't be a part of the state. It's that the state isn't supposed to be intruding on. Yeah.
People bring up the separation of church and state, which is a letter that Thomas Jefferson wrote to whatever Baptist church, because the church was worried about the state infringing on their rights. Yeah. And so Thomas Jefferson says, listen, there is a wall of separation between the church and the state. The state can't be coming and telling the church what to do. Yeah. Like his whole point in that letter was to say, don't worry, church, you have got a right that's really above fundamentally even the state. But everybody takes it to mean like, oh, you can't talk, you can't
everything has to be separate. Yeah.
And even like Eric brings up the fact, Eric is a friend, he's now with Florida Family Voice, which is really promoting 4 things in state government. And I have just changed. I've just changed. The last 5 years, I really have changed my position.
Jeff used to be about the most libertarian.
Oh, so libertarian, so skeptical. So I voted for my wife for
president. Very American of you. You're just like small government, no government.
No, maybe make some roads, maybe, and defend me from terrorists. Other than that, stay out of my life.
And then they're like, how without government?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like that for me.
Or taxes.
For me, government was like, just make sure the terrorists don't
stay out of my life,
but otherwise
keep me safe.
Let me stop taxing me. Let me do what I want. If I need a road in my neighborhood, guess what? I'll go rally the neighborhood.
You're like, you know how expensive it is to keep terrorists at bay?
A lot of bombs,
a lot of taxes,
a lot of guns,
a lot of taxes.
But I have changed, and I just think to your point. I'm circling back to what you said about why don't we raise men up? And I think it's because we somehow have been conditioned to think that if I go into politics, I can't talk about Jesus. And so why am I going to do that if that's fundamentally like
or only the corrupt can get to the top,
or only the corrupt can get there? And listen, there will be compromise
for sure.
And so for instance, if I go back to Kelly Stargell, she had pro-life groups in the state who were livid and sending her nasty grams because they didn't get the zero abortions, or that she settled for 15 weeks.
Yeah, she's like, I'm trying to get to 0, but we can't get to 0 without first getting to 6, without first getting to 15.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like at one point it was 24 or 32 or whatever. And so she's like, well, listen, isn't it 15 better than 32 or 24? And that's the whole point, is that like, yes, in politics, you're probably going to have to compromise. So I would say politics is a great way. And I love that point, that we should look and identify those who can kind of see both sides of an issue, can talk intelligently to people, but have conviction and passion around a certain issue, because it encourage them to go, because they're not going to get everything they want. No. But man, if they can increase kingdom priorities even just a bit, if they can promote good from a biblical worldview, even if they're not saying Bible, just a bit, then let's encourage you folks. Because I'll tell you what, the other side is, and this was very convicting to me, because we went up to the state capitol to pray one time with Family Florida Voice, with Eric's, and man, the legislators were so grateful that we were there to pray. We're like, what are you dealing with? And you know what they said is like, listen, we've got, I think there was like almost 2,000 bills submitted, And so they're like, we're not experts on everything.
Yeah.
I got to vote on it though.
Yeah.
And so like, we're just like, could you pray for wisdom for us? And then the other thing they said is, listen, if we don't hear from the Christians, like,
then we don't know what the Christians want.
We don't know what the Christians are thinking. And I assure you that those with self-interest are up here telling us what they want.
Yeah, yeah.
So Christians, if it's like, come talk to us. Come be here with us. Pray with us.
But when the narrative told to Christians is so often like, God's got it. Don't worry. Don't worry.
God's sovereign. He's in control.
Which we don't do in any other part of our life. We would never just be like, bank account will grow.
God's sovereign.
Christmas vacation will figure itself out. God's sovereign.
Yeah.
But when it comes to politics, we're like, God's got it. We're not going to worry about. And then we get mad when stuff happens in the school system, or
for sure.
Yeah. So that intentionality would, because that's what the thought is, like putting people in office that are being pastored, that submit to their own elders, that are in home groups with other civilians who they're constantly hearing the hardships and the need. Like, they're not just doing it for like propaganda and like, hey, when the cameras are on, they weekly meet with other civilians in groups, not just coworkers. And so they're like probably the most in touch with society out of everybody.
Yeah, best when you get like a small business owner who sees an issue in his business or in his community or in his industry, and he's like, "This is ridiculous.
Yeah, we got to fix this.
I got to fix this, and I'm gonna do something about it."
Yeah.
And he goes there and he represents all those other communities who are going through that same ridiculous thing.
Yeah.
To change it, to promote good.
Yeah.
And to your point, if he's in a small group and he's submitting to a local leadership in the church, and
who better to be in office? You have elders are pouring into him and saying, "Hey, like, let's give you wisdom on that. Let's see what's the most godly option. Let's weigh all these things out."
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have this guy that's just isolated with his PR team.
Correct. So I it's definitely a hard issue. But here's the thing, that's not the only way that you can change and
it's being
change.
In there. Yeah.
But to say that they're all corrupt and categorically make statements that, I'm no use here and what can I actually do?
Yeah.
I think is misguided. I really do. Yes, you're only one vote, but your voice can be amplified,
and
so that it becomes multiple votes
anywhere else.
And we don't do that anywhere else. It's very hypocritical.
Yeah.
And this is convicting for me, because if you'd have heard me 7 years ago, that Jeff would have
just been like, just let it rock. Like, we're good.
I would have been like, the government is corrupt. Like, it doesn't matter who, if you vote, it only matters who counts the votes. Like, I would have been rocking that narrative, which all still is true, by the way. Like, it does only matter who counts the votes.
Yeah.
But like, to participate in the process, now that I just see, wait, these are just normal people. I heard Obama say this once, where he was like, I think if most people sat down with these rich and elite and powerful people and just like had dinner with them, I think they would realize how normal
Everybody is, yeah.
Everybody is basically normal. Some people just have a lot of money and
they
power.
Some people just got hit with the right mentor, the right situation along the way. Yeah. So then what would you say for just your average churchgoer, like a solid call to action when it comes to the topic of like being a Patros in my country?
Yeah, in the country. Well, I think that the most actionable item, there's two things. One is the right belief. And I do think, we didn't get to it, but so this is your call to go actually get the book. But one of the chapters
we didn't cover every single chapter. Yeah.
One of the chapters is embrace the idea that God is not an American. And then one of the chapters...
You should have wrote that whole thing in Spanish in that one chapter. Make everyone like copy and paste it in Claude. Translate it.
So embrace the idea that God is not American, and then God is politically concerned, yet party unaffiliated. Those two chapters, I might ruffle some feathers, but go read them, because the point to me is like your belief system around in your country cannot be so locked into partisanship. And I think we mistake, what do I say? There's actually a better...
like what you were... well, first of all, as he's looking for that, like, if you have a problem with God not being American, then like you got some bigger problems with God, because Jesus was literally Middle Eastern. So
seriously,
so like he actually was not a citizen of America. Brown. Yeah, he was not an American at all. But
I found it here. We often confuse patriotism with citizenship. Patriotism is a healthy love of our homeland, while citizenship is unshakable loyalty to our Heavenly Father through membership in His eternal kingdom.
That's good.
And that piece of it is where I think we screw up. That's what I've seen, is that I look at...
We conflate the two.
Yeah, I look at patriotism and thinks that somehow... that means that's citizenship. But like when I pledge allegiance to America, or I pledge allegiance to the flag, I do it secondarily to my allegiance to my God.
Yeah.
And I do think we conflate the two. We get them out of order. So I would say one practical item is just in your belief system, examine that. Like go read Romans 13. Read your Bible.
Yeah.
Just see, that would be the number one action item is read your Bible and see what the scriptures say, because that will challenge your beliefs about it. The second thing is the participate while you still can. Like participate in the process while you still can. I think for that, it means praying to God and saying, God, how can I participate? Lead me, Spirit of God, into wisdom that shows me, here's what you should do, Alan. Here's what you should do, Jeff. For me, it was the introduction by Chris Sprouse to the legislature and to funding and to the council that I sat on through the state of Florida. And that was like, he invited me into that. And it's like, if someone invites you into something, you're like, man, I should probably do that. I don't have an interest in this. I should probably do it. Now I'm interested. So it's like when God even brings other people into your life to say, hey, I think God's calling is this for you, or I think blah, blah, blah. You need to listen. You need to pay attention, right? But I think ultimately, all of us can pray for our leaders. They specifically ask for it. So the one thing you can do from an action-oriented is pray for your leaders so that they make good decisions. I mean, that's a no-brainer. And then beyond that, you want to be a Kelly Stargell? Go to Tallahassee, go to Washington, change the law.
There's a spectrum. There's a spectrum of what you could do.
For sure.
Yeah, I definitely think that what I would echo is prayer is something that we need to champion when it comes to that, because it's hard to hate somebody when you're praying for God to restore them, or for them to be right and give them wisdom. So I would say personally, pray for leaders that you agree with and that you disagree with. And that would be my actionable item, just for you to put into action and get the way of the Patros so that you can go through the rest of the content on Amazon. Appreciate you guys for joining us on this episode of the Patros podcast, and we'll see you next week.
Well, hey, this episode has been brought to you by our friends at Synergy Bridge Advisors. You guys are in us with the fight against fatherlessness and equipping fathers. So just really appreciate your support and for making this possible. So thank you guys so much, and God bless you.